So my advice to principals and vice principals is that we always think about transparency and accountability when managing school funds. So as we collect money, making sure that it's not the sole responsibility of one person, that there are two people at least working together, that there is always an accounting and agreement of what was collected, how much, how it's going to be stored. All of these things are really important because then there can't be any finger pointing or blaming later as to what happened with that money. And I think the principal really needs to take seriously the idea that they are the person that oversees the entire process. That doesn't mean they have to manage every single aspect of it, but they do need to scrutinize, monitor, be aware of what's happening with those funds, and make sure there's accountability with those funds.
Once the money has been collected and before it's been counted, it should be kept in a secure area, especially if it's the teacher who's collecting the funds from the student and hasn't counted the money yet. Gather the money together, make sure there's a good recording of who deposited the money or who provided the money, how much money each individual gave, was it a check, was it a cash, etc. And so that should be kept together, recorded at that time, and then counted later, perhaps in the presence of the secretary, but it should be counted in the presence of a second person.
School-generated funds should be counted in a secure location by 2 or more individuals. This is a mechanism that ensures that the appropriate amount of money collected is accounted for properly.
Then when that money has been given to the secretary, and it is generally the secretary who would be looking after the collection of the money and the reporting of the money, then that money is, if you will, electronically deposited in usually a school board has a consistent type of software that all schools use for the accounting, and then a receipt issued to the person who is providing the money. The money should never be just sort of dropped on a secretary's desk with some sort of envelope or a report. There should be some consistency through the school and through the school board as well. Money should never be kept in a classroom, never should be kept in a file cabinet, never should be kept on a bookshelf. It should always, as soon as it's collected, brought to the office. I've experienced too many times as a principal where money has gone missing after it's been collected because the teacher or the staff member felt they were too busy to bring it to the office, and as a result, people know that money's being collected. Sometimes they know it's left in the teacher's desk, it's in the department office, etc., and money goes missing.
School-generated funds should be stored in the administrative office at all times. There should be a safe, a locked safe, that's able to store that money. The money should only be in the classroom during that period of time in which it's being collected, but promptly brought down to the office by an educator immediately after it's collected.
After it's been counted, the money should then be kept in a secure place in the main office. Many school boards now have gone to an expectation that schools have safes and that the money is placed in the school safe once it's been counted and verified by 2 people, place it in the school safe while awaiting deposit to the bank. It should never be kept in something like this in the office. This is way too easy for someone to pick up, walk away with. So gone are the days that this is an acceptable storage place for money.
Once money has been collected and counted, it should be stored in the administrative office's safe. That safe should be locked at all times and should only be unlocked when the funds are being accessed or the contents of the safe are being accessed.
In terms of how long the money should be in the school, this is really, I would send principals back to whatever their board procedure and practice is. It would not be a good idea to have money sitting around in the school for weeks on end. Usually school boards will stipulate that there's a weekly deposit that happens.
Money tends to accumulate. People would be surprised at how much comes in on a daily basis from various sources in terms of pizza days and fundraisers. So the schools can generate a lot of cash, checks, etc. So you'd want to be able to deposit that in the bank within a week.
If the principal knows that it's quite a lot of money that's coming into the school because of a major fundraiser, they should have a plan in place so that there aren't large deposits left in the safe, that money is transported down to the bank and deposited. So when we're transferring money from the classroom down to the office area, hopefully there's been a plan in place of how that is going to happen. Students shouldn't be carrying money to the office, and ideally parent volunteers should not either. It would be a good practice for principals to have in place that a staff member would transfer that money down, while another staff member is supervising the class, of course.
In the past, the school secretary would have been responsible for depositing the money in the bank. But again, that creates a security issue for an individual.
When it comes time to deposit the funds into a financial institution, there are a number of practices used across the province. Best practice would be to have the administrator, accompanied by another individual, transport that money to the financial institution for deposit. There are school boards that use couriers, bonded and licensed couriers, to transport the money from the schools to our financial institutions for deposit into school-related accounts.
So when the money is being transported to the bank, I would always refer our members back to what the board procedure says with respect to that. Really important that principals do oversee the filling out of the deposit slips, are aware of how much money is being deposited, and that the appropriate staff are taking that money then to the financial institution.
Tracking of funds is an important item because many schools will have different kinds of sub-accounts. Although this is school-generated funds, if you've got teams, clubs, school council, fundraising, sometimes various individuals, the staff social committee, etc., will collect funds. And they don't just go into one big pot of money and everybody has access to it. So they are tracked electronically. Most school boards would have a common software package that all schools are required to use to track this money because you want to have common reporting as well.
Each board and each school will have access to the board's financial information system. Funds should be tracked using that particular system. In regards to school-generated funds, they'll be collected for a specific purpose. When inputting that information into the financial system, it's important to classify it appropriately. If we're collecting for a field trip, if we're collecting student fees, or if there's general fundraising going on, there will be specific accounts to help track those amounts coming forward. This will help principals identify the funds brought into the school and ensure that those funds are used for their intended purpose.